Good evening, and welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting for Tuesday, April 1st, 2014. Just a reminder that the meeting is being recorded. And before we get started, we just want to take a moment of appreciation for our brave servicemen and women that are serving in Afghanistan. Thank you. Well, first order of business is our annual reorganization of the board. And I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Mr. Peterson as the new chairman of the board, and Mr. DeSorger moves over to clerk. So do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yep. Excellent, good. All right, we'll do our switch.
So I think that we need a clerk then, too.
Yes. Yep. So
That was in the motion.
Oh, was it?
Yep.
Oh,
Appoint Richard
did it
as
so
the
surprised that I
fast
wasn't
as-
listening
That's right.
to the motion. Our first article of business tonight is to have Representative Sean Dooley discuss the state budget and local aid. Sean, thank you for coming.
All right. Well, I just wanted to kind of come in and introduce myself to the town. And you guys after that very exciting reorganization.
Yes. Yeah.
That was awesome to
It's tough. A lot of big
witness.
fights.
And just put myself out there to, even though I only represent precincts 3 and 4, anyone that in Medfield that needs anything from the State House. Obviously Representative Garlick does a great job as well. But if two heads are better than one. So if we can attack any issue that Medfield needs from two different sides of the aisle, then so much the better. And I just wanted to, as far as we're continuing. The month of April is going to be all budget all the time. Our big focus and our big push is local aid. 2 weeks ago we found $75 million in the lottery, and we proposed to shift that back over to local aid. And unfortunately, we weren't successful in that. We were able to get $25 million of it across, even though 100% of it's supposed to be going to local aid. It's been being siphoned off for a while, so it was evidently a little harder for it to move over as possible. My focus is that I believe cities and towns have a much better understanding of what their need is, and how to run their money, and will do a much better job of being fiscally prudent than the state government as a whole. So that's one of the big things we're focusing on. Obviously, Chapter 90 money, that's going to be the big issue. It appears that from everything from the tea leaves thus far, the $300 million that we allocated will probably fall the same way it did last year, where 200 of it gets released by the governor, the other 100 he holds back. And so I think that's going to be, from what we're hearing, that's going to be about the same. And so what we're trying to do is just make as many amendments as possible to create as much local aid. Yeah. Shifting down to the cities and towns, and far as more money for the schools and for the town as a whole. Obviously, after that squeaker of a vote yesterday, our next other major focus is getting all the stuff. We did getting all the stuff for the state hospital. Yep. Through the water towers has made its progress. So now we just have to jam. It's just going to be difficult getting it through all the committees, basically May, June, and July, because we finish our session on July 31st.
Sean, how many committees does it have to go through to get voted on?
I think 3.
Oh, so
and then third reading. So it's, but I mean, from everyone I've talked to thus far, and Denise has been much more the lead on this, because it's over in her side of the world. There does not appear to be any, pushback thus far, right. And Senator Timilty has been working it on the Senate side, and he has the same thing. From the standpoint, not a lot of pushback. It's just more the bureaucracy of, making sure all the hoops are jumped through, all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed. I know we just got the DCAM just gave us the language. What was that? 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Yeah. So I know that's still being worked on by council, and I presume you guys are tweaking it a little more on your end as well. So. But as far as when I spoke to the speaker 2 weeks ago about it, and he didn't have any issue with it. He was in favor of it, or at least not opposed to it. So that that's the big stumbling block up there. If the speaker is against it and that becomes an issue there, then then we're in trouble. But but we don't see there being any reason for it not to go through nice and smoothly, so.
Good.
I don't want to jinx us, but, that's, it's one, again, one of the nice things about having, 2 reps and a senator
Yeah.
all fighting on it.
Yeah.
As far as, the Republican caucus on that side is 100% committed to pushing it through. So that's, that's my world, and I know, Denise is, doing a good job on her side, pushing it through as well, so.
Good.
And is the House all set on the, all finished with the water tower and well fields legislation?
As far as I know, it is. I mean, that's, the last Wednesday it got all, signed off. And, unless there's some, House Counsel had something else that needed to be tweaked, I think that was all done.
So we're just waiting for the vote from the Senate
From
at
the
this
Senate.
point, yeah.
Hopefully, we'll have some good news coming out of April,
Mhm.
with the, getting the cherry sheets up and getting the local aid number up. I don't know, how are you guys looking from a, I was talking to Millis, a couple of Millis selectmen earlier today, and, they're really hurting, from the standpoint, where the local aid number is coming in at, that means they're only gonna be at about 3.5 to 4%, total number, given their current revenues.
I think, well, I mean, our total state monies is more than last year.
Right.
We're not looking at an override, so.
Right,
But I think on the other hand, we're hurting in the sense that we have so much onto our plate.
right,
We just had the highway garage, 9-point-something million.
Right.
That went through. The
fire
water
station.
tower of another,
Yeah.
the well system, we're looking at a public safety.
Public safety, right, yep.
Buildings that are coming up. So all this is coming from once. That's why it's really key, with that local aid. And
Right.
it's, I went to the MMA, a Mass Municipal Association meeting there, and they were talking about trying to get all 300 of that million. And I know politics involved. You're saying probably only 2 of that 300.
well, that's, basically what the governor has said thus far. I mean, that's basic, he hasn't come out and flat out said it, but that's been basically what has been,
His
Yeah.
position on this
Unofficially-
was that unless the legislature
increase the taxes.
increased the taxes to produce more money for transportation, that he
That he,
didn't feel
that he,
that
that he, if
to
we're
balance
not,
the budget, he wouldn't release it.
which is a bit disingenuous from the standpoint of we have an additional $1 billion in overall state revenue. So for the standpoint, why do we, if we have that much
You're right.
additional money coming in,
Why
why
would
are?
we get 100
why-
million, yeah.
Yeah, why create, but why create more taxes? If,
Right.
if the number's going up, it would be different if we were flat.
Yes.
Or, in a situation where we're flat and we can't even level fund.
Yeah.
But when we have an additional $1 billion in revenue coming in, it's really hard
You're
for
saying
me
that-
to justify any additional,
Tax.
taxes and fees.
Exactly.
You're saying that the revenues are up $1 billion this
Yep.
year at the state level.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense.
So, I mean.
And the
that-
governors are gonna leave office in January of next year, so that.
Correct.
Maybe the new governor will give us the full 300 million.
Yes. Oh, he'll definitely give you the 300,000. No matter which one it is, we'll get 300,000. But yeah, no, I mean.
That was the Medfield number.
Well, and that unfortunately is the reality of it. I mean, we have crumbling infrastructure. We have bridges and roads that are in desperate needs of repair. We've been in this holding pattern on just putting on Band-Aids for the past 6-7 years, ever since the recession started. And these are situations that are bridges that were built in the 20s that and unfortunately it's not a you can't there a lot of these bridges aren't at a place where you can put a Band-Aid on them.
Right,
They
right.
need to be
Right.
and it's when you look at some of the numbers, it's astronomical, but they're having to dam up the waterway, and they're having to do abatement, they're having to do environmental protection, they're having to do all of this level of infrastructure around it before they even start building the bridge. And then they have to tear down the bridge, build up one lane, tear it down, build another one, have a temporary traffic light, all of those things that in 1920 it cost them, it took them 2 weeks and and a truckload of cement
Yeah.
to put up the bridge. Now it's a 6-month-long project
Yeah.
with all sorts of $100,000 of engineering done
Yeah.
before one shovel hits the ground.
I know. Well, it's hard too, I mean, any delay like that when the governor holds up the money, obviously with the building season so short here.
Right.
It just delays a little bit, it's all done.
Right.
Just call it a day for this season, and then, so it's,
Well,
Right.
I
It's
think
just,
the
yeah.
best example of that is Route 109, where it goes over 128 in Westwood.
oh yeah, that'll get
Dedham.
done sometime
That's
in the
been
next 20
ongoing for
years.
about 7 years now.
Right.
Yeah.
That's an incredible delay there.
Right, exactly, and with our winters being so harsh,
Yeah.
you know, and the plows and everything like that, you know, they're putting in these temporary patches, gets dug up by the plow,
Yeah.
and the salt and everything like that, and so they're having to repatch the patch from the previous year just to come back, you know, just to start over
I know.
even.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, it's frustrating, and it's, you know, but it's one of these things that, you know, we're working, you know, that's one of my focuses, you know, to work hard, is just push as much back down as we can.
Yeah.
You know, the state government is bloated. I mean, we have a, you know, the level of, you know, if you look over the, I forget what the exact number is, you know, out of the $5 billion of additional revenues over the past, you know, 10 years, you know, at that same time, we've had $5 billion of additional revenues. Local city and aid town has gone down $500 million. So, you know, why is it not at least keeping pace? I mean, it certainly shouldn't be going backwards.
Right.
And it has. So that's one of the things, I know MMA discussed this, you know, as well this year, that, you know, that's just frustrating that we have more and more state revenue, and it's all getting put into the centralized government, and more bureaucracy and more state agencies, and, you know, and levels of, the EBT frauds and the, you know, and DCFs,
Yeah.
nightmare right now. You know, so some of these things, it's just frustrating that you see so much of your tax dollars going to these and being spent poorly, where, you know, you guys could take that exact same money and really create some substantial projects that really turn things around.
I've always taken heart to the fact that the Michael Widmer from the Mass Taxpayers Foundation said that they looked at state spending, and they decided that there really wasn't much waste in the state budget. I mean, I certainly don't analyze it in the
Right.
depth that they do, so that I feel pretty comfortable that the state is not throwing money away. I mean, I think we've got some real structural problems, just because 45% of the budget is now for health care
Right,
on the state level, and I mean, that's just a societal
Right.
problem. We've got problems with the pensions and the OPEB.
right.
All the cities and towns owe huge amounts
Oh,
of money.
the pension, that unfunded liability is,
And we really need
tremendous.
some assistance with that. I mean, and I don't know what the solution to that is. Obviously, we signed up to benefits with our employees, and so that we have to fulfill that obligation. But
Right.
that comes back again to the cost of healthcare.
Right.
Because that's really what's driving I mean, I think the Medfield number is close to 40 million.
Right.
That we have, that's unfunded healthcare liability for our
Right.
future our retirees.
right,
If we had a better healthcare system in this country that wasn't so expensive, obviously that could help our OPEB
Right.
liability a ton.
yes, and we're having more and more problems from the standpoint of, you know, we just lost the North Adams Hospital this week, shut down last Friday, and, you know, they've got a Band-Aid on it right now, but, they looked at it and they're like, there's no way this is going to be, salvageable.
I just, personally, because my daughter was one of the ones laid off on that. She was the visiting nurse
Yep.
for Berkshire County, and they gave them 3 days' notice.
Right.
Tuesday, they told them we're shutting down Friday at 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
And I feel bad for that section, 'cause that whole corner of Massachusetts, they either now have to go to Greenfield, which is at least an hour away,
Right.
or down to Pittsfield, which is almost an hour away as
Right.
well. And there's no emergency room or health care in that whole corner of the
Nothing,
state.
yeah, there's no, no VNA, nothing. I mean, it's that, I think they said, the worst-case scenario, someone's driving 75 miles to an emergency room.
Yeah.
Now, once you figure in, the actual road mileage,
Yeah.
which is just unthinkable. And, we're spoiled around here that we have so many, but,
Yeah.
5 minutes is life and death, let alone an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And then you factor in winter out there.
Yeah.
45 miles in, once you had a winter storm,
Yeah.
forget about it. I mean, it's atrocious. And I know that, the state is looking after, the entire process of, this shouldn't have happened on a Tuesday and closed on a Friday. There's just no, ethical excuse for that. Because you don't get surprised on that kind of number, where all of a sudden, we're completely broke.
Right.
Unless there's some major fraud or anything along those lines. But I know that's one of the things they're looking at. And, but with the healthcare costs and the scalability out there with the level of population, if you look at it purely from a business standpoint, it doesn't make sense to have a hospital out there, because it's like, all right, how are you going to make your numbers meet,
Right.
with this, so. But,
Mr. Chairman, can I just, because we have Ken here, I was just curious how you feel the Chapter 90 funds that we're getting from the state, have we been up, down on that, or?
Chapter 90 is, I think we get about 300,000 and 400,000. And we're hanging in. We save our Chapter 90 for our main roads, 27, 109. Our Chapter 90 is used on our main roads.
okay,
Okay, and North Street, South Street, those kind of things, so we saved the money. This year here, we're gonna probably put out $500,000 in work, and that's gonna involve Spring Street from south up to the center, and then we're gonna go out to North Meadows Road, Route 20, still on Route 27, and we're gonna go down to West Street. And so that, you can see, and a little bit of South Street extension that we're going to be doing up to probably Juniper or somewhere up there. And that's $500,000.
Right.
And that's how many miles? It's not many miles at all of road. But we save our money, our Chapter 90, for our major roads. Okay, and yeah, we'd like to have more. I know the old trick that the state used to do, and Mark brought it up, is they used to release the funds after the construction season, so
Right.
there'd be a delay on it. And
Yeah.
we haven't seen much of that
Yeah.
lately, which is good.
Yeah.
Right. yeah.
Ken, do we get our fair share of the Chapter 90 funds? Are we getting shorted, or are we getting more than our fair share?
No, it's not going down. We have not experienced anything going down. Level budget, yeah. But we're very frugal with our Chapter 90 funds. They're saved for the major roads. And of course, we're going to get into this later on with the stone seals and the subdivisions that we use, and that helps support the overall infrastructure. We've got 75 miles of road that we have to maintain, but we do not, and we try not to use our Chapter 90 on any of the subdivision roads. We always use them on the secondary roads and the primary roads.
But you think that we're getting our fair share of the state money on the Chapter 90?
I think, yeah, we're doing pretty good on Chapter 90. Yes, absolutely. If they want to give me more, great. But I think that, we're frugal with it. Again, we only use it on the major roads. And some of the other towns use it on any and every road.
Right.
And they just, a lot of towns exhaust it every year, exhaust it, and we kind of save it and watch our main roads because they can go real quick.
And do you have any large-scale projects coming up, any bridges or anything along those lines that are going to need a
Well,
major pump?
we did report the 109 bridge to the state.
Yep,
Down on the Millis line, and that is it's got Tresca's trucks and a very
Right.
109's a truck
Right.
road, and that bridge has been there for quite a while. They did come out and do some temporary repairs to it. It's kind of funny with bridges how the scoring system is.
right,
Everything's a 7.
Right.
If you got a 7, you might as well forget it. You'll never get anything done.
Right.
And it is funny, yeah. But we are going to discuss tonight with the Board of Selectmen. We're going to be try to start a design for 109 for a sidewalk down to Shaw's and connect it into the existing sidewalk system down there. That's a very expensive project because it includes drainage and a lot of, once we're going to need drainage easements. It's a long project, but we generally, what we'll do with our Chapter 90 in that case, we'll use it for design, and then we'll depend on the state. We'll get on the tip.
Right.
And once you get that design up, get 25% hearings in and try and get it through the state. So that's how we use our Chapter 90. The major projects are designed. We have another one, North Street. It's about 80% design, hasn't had a 25% hearing yet.
okay,
And that's really one that should be going. It should be, we should be getting up there. We have to go up to the District 3 we're in.
okay,
And we have to get up there and go over that with them. The project has cooled off, but we really are really far along in that project, and there's no reason why that shouldn't be getting some funding on North Street. So that's where we're at right
Okay.
now.
Who makes that decision? Is that the state that makes a decision in North Street of where we?
Yeah, we go up to the district. We work through our district. We have to work with the, we have to, the TIP, we have to get on the TIP, Transportation Improvement Projects, and you have to go to MAPC. We've been there. We presented the project to them. The project was getting pretty close. And to tell you the truth, what happened in the state was that when the President of the United States came out with all the extra money for roads, things like that,
Right.
and a timetable.
Shovel-ready, yep.
You had to shovel-ready, had to spend it now. North Street got put on the back burner under the state funds, and they went out and asphalted anything and anything that didn't move.
But correct me if I'm wrong, and that's not, it's not like necessarily allocated toward Medfield. It's a pool that's at the Department of Transportation, and then you go in and apply.
It's competitive.
Right.
It's competitive. It's absolutely competitive.
So it's not done
And-
at the legislative process, it's done,
No, it's done through the Mass Highway, and it's done through the MAPC.
yep.
Recommendations, but we should try and get on that list. We were at one time scheduled for 2014. Where are we?
Right.
You know, so it's, you got to stay on it. You can slip off the list real quick. A lot of projects are on the list, and they never get constructed because there's easements that haven't been taken, or, you know,
Right.
there's a lot of projects, and when they fall off, your project can move up. We don't have any easement problems on this particular project. We own all the land, so,
And it's all engineered and everything, all that other,
yep,
or 80% of it. yeah.
80% designed, and that was done with our Chapter 90, yeah, so.
Ken, how do other towns move their projects faster?
You know, we're a small town. We have to multitask.
Right?
If I was the Chapter 90 guru, I'd be up there every day, up at the district, and, you know, pushing everything through. So, you know, that's just the nature of the animal, the size of the town. But, you know, I know I told Richard that we should go up there in the fall, and we haven't made it up there yet. You know, we've got a major project on our hands right now, the highway garage, going on, and we're tied up there. We meet in mornings, you know, we meet at night, we meet, you know. So we are tied up, and, you know, our numbers are few, but we will be getting up there and try and regenerate that project, because that project got pretty warm, it was pretty close, and then again, the federal money release, spend it now, or you lose it, spend it or lose it. So it just overwhelmed the Commonwealth of
yeah.
Massachusetts and Mass Highway.
Is there any way to hire some assistance?
Well, we have our consultants. We have our consultants.
So we use, do we use Mr. Lavallee?
Yes, we do.
Roland?
Yes, we do, yep, yep. But again, Mr. Lavallee is on the highway garage right now. We've talked about a number of projects that we have to get off the ground. Green Street, we have to file at Concom to get Green Street started up, and that one there is going to be a in-house project that we're not relying on the state. And so that still is, you know, taking time from HNTB. We have a number of projects. So, you know, it's just, this is the way it is. You know, I have 5 departments, so I mean, it's, you know, I go from the fire on the highway department to the fire on the water department to back to the sewer department. And so it's, you know, it's, you know, maybe sometime in the future the town might want to get some more, hire some more people to assist. And
Well, that's why I
get
was
these things
suggesting
through.
that we maybe hire somebody like Roland
Yeah, we can do, I mean, we can,
He's from HNTB, and
Yep.
and if we could pay him some short money to get us some bigger money
Yep.
in Chapter 90 funds, that might be a decision the town might
That's
want
how
to
we,
make.
that's how we reconstructed South Street. That's how we built South Street from the Norfolk line all the way to Medfield Center.
For-
That's how we spent, I think, about $1.5 million of the state's funds in our center not too long ago. I mean, to me, it's not too long ago.
No, I think it's
you know,
recent too, but it bugs me
reconstruct-
because 109 is
Yeah,
just up and down. When you
That's
walk
the-
across it to
again-
the library from the town hall, they're just huge ruts in 109 now, and I
That's-
think of that as a new pavement
yep,
surface.
that's, actually, the pavement's holding up well. It's just that the hot weather, heavy trucking, and asphalt moves. And with parking on both sides, they all drive in the same spot.
Sure, yeah.
You know,
'cause it's just
I'm willing to
narrow
bet you
thing.
could take your hands off the wheel and go right through Medfield Center without
Yeah.
veering out of the gullies, but,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just the nature of the animal there. But
Well, maybe you could think about that as to whether or not, if we could find you some short money to hire some of Roland LaValle's time.
Yep.
Whether or not that you think that would return some
Yep.
Chapter 90 monies to the
I'd
town for
be-
North Street or whatever.
I'd be more than willing to bring Roland in, and we can discuss where all our projects are at. Roland's only up in Bellingham. So we can, some night with the select board, we can sit down and go over these major projects and where we're at. And that would be, I think you would have a greater understanding of the complexity of getting on the tip.
The whole Chapter 90 process is very difficult to understand, I think. And so I think that we would do well to have sort of a lesson in how it works. So that would probably be very good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if there are any ways we can tweak it and get more money from Chapter 90, we should be trying to do it.
Yeah, I think that, we might not be able to tweak the appropriation, but, it's based on a number of things, cars
The-
registered,
Yeah, it's
excise.
a fairly set
miles of
formula for
roads.
Chapter 90. I think there's some confusion as to, Ken's talking about the tip
The tip.
list to get state money from Mass DOT versus Chapter 90, which is a set appropriation based on that
Okay.
formula.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
tip is more of a pool that's set aside that then the cities and towns can compete for.
Yeah, and
And basically, think about it as a grant.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
more
like for a
like a
grant.
grant pool, so you go in and and based on where your project's at, you've already done, like you said, 80% of your engineering, so now you can qualify to apply for this, and then, depending on how much.
Was that the money that you were able to get for those other towns then?
No, that was on Chapter 90.
That was Chapter 90?
Those were Chapter 90.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we applied for a study for 2 bridges in Norfolk, for the environmental impact study, and then also for a engineering for, again, similar to what he was talking about, so an environmental study, and then also an engineering for sidewalk down Village Street and reconfiguring the Village Street, where 115, that crazy,
Intersection.
stop sign, you have a stop sign one way and not the other way, and,
Yeah.
that sort of thing, re-engineering that.
Yeah.
Well, I think I don't know, for me, the issue is that I just want to make sure that Medfield's getting its fair share of the state monies, and if there's anything that we can be doing to get
Mhm.
as much money as we can, I think we
Right.
should be
No, I
making
agree.
sure.
Right,
we're
as I
doing
say,
it.
and next year, come the spring, anything we can think of, it's, let's throw it up against there, and, worst thing we're gonna have is a no. And if we're able to get it in there, engineering for the bridge and things along those lines, get them, start rolling on them, so, at least we can get, even if we only get the $100,000 of engineering done, at least that's one chunk that we've gotten done this year. And then 2 years from now, it's, makes it that much easier for us to apply, because, all right, we've already done the engineering, here's the reason why this needs to be done, and whether it's in the tip or an actual Chapter 90 appropriation, then we can, we're better off.
Excellent.
Any more questions for our
No.
new state rep?
No, just one, and that's, and you alluded to it earlier, but it has been my fear right along, just with the issue of the hospital,
Yep.
that was going to get through the town, and people like, the Bill Massaros and John Honeys and John Thompson and others have worked so hard on this, and the townspeople came out and supported this, and now we have this short window, and it just, really, it's in your ball, and I know you guys are going to work as hard as you can, but whatever, because the future of that whole hospital now is in your hands in that sense.
It's frustrating. I was going to say, I know Senator Timilty was saying, the frustrating thing about the way the legislature works, and I'm new there, so it's, some of the wranglings that go on just are, not necessarily commonsensical. We did the emergency preamble, so, so we at least, we're able to skip, the waiting period to move it forward. But as Senator Timilty said, he was like, whether you got it done 3 years ago and it had a July 31st deadline, or you did it this month and it has a July 31st deadline, everything's getting done in July of 2014.
Yeah.
He goes, that's unfortunately the nature of the beast. If you have too much time, they're going to send it to this study committee and then that study committee, and because then they're going to want to have this organization weigh in on it. He's like, from that standpoint,
It's just
having a short window actually, gives us some sense of urgency, so people can't say, oh, I want to, send it over there and have, this environmental impact study
Yeah.
done on it, because we have a deadline. We have the July 31st deadline. And it's such a, again, I hate to jinx it by saying it's such common sense, and, and having the, the town vote for it, 100, unanimously at town meeting, and then, 90% at the ballot box. That sends a strong message. I mean, and that's one of the things I'll be trumpeting. I mean, that's, we're beating the chest saying, this is what the people want. There's no, this isn't a 51-49. This is hardcore. The money's there. It's good for the town. It's good for the state. It's good for the environment. With and the infrastructure. It's a win-win-win. I mean, there's, it's hard to argue against it. So I think that's, I think we'll have good success. And as I've said, I've spoken to all other 28 members of my caucus, and
Yep.
they're all 100% on board. No one has a problem with it. So, hopefully, and Matt Beaton is up in Westboro. So, he just went through the same thing as well. So,
Yeah.
That just passed, right?
yeah,
No,
So it
it
should be
passed.
the-
It got reported out of a
Out of
committee,
committee.
out of committee. Yeah,
Passed out of committee, right?
the Westboro State Hospital,
yeah, that's the hard part. So,
Oh.
but
But it's, well, you said it has to go through 3 committees. I just came out
right.
of one.
Well, I was gonna say, and then it goes through the funding, and then it goes through the third reading,
Yeah.
and then it goes onto the floor. So,
All right.
but that being said, as you noticed in the upskirting bill, when things want to get happen,
Oh, I know.
in 12 hours,
They can get done in
they can
12
do
hours.
12 hours. If you have 3 years to do it, then it'll take 3 years to do it. It's unfortunately that's one of the areas that I'm trying to figure out. There's some of the political maneuvering that's done. So.
Yep. Well, thank you so much for
Oh,
coming in.
thank you very much.
Thanks
If you
for
need
coming,
anything, you guys all know where to find me.
Yeah.
I'm happy to help. Whenever you guys want me in here, just let me know. I'm more than happy to come.
Sure.
Thank you
Great.
so
All
much.
right.
Thanks a lot,
Thank you.
Sean.
Congratulations again on the on your restructuring, and also on the election with the.
While we were talking, I searched through my file and I found a memo from Mike Sullivan to Representative Lyda Harkins from February 15 of 2002, 10 items that he asked the state to look into, and probably about 8 of them can still be looked into.
still be done?
so-
Okay,
So
perfect.
why don't you just take that?
Awesome. Thank you very much. Have a great
Yeah,
night.
take
Thank
care.
you.
Thank you
Bye,
very
Sean.
much. We now have Cemetery Commissioner Rob Grigg with a report on the cemetery. Thank you for coming, Rob.
Thank you, gentlemen. This is a very brief report, simply to keep the lines of communication open with you since the last time that you called the Cemetery Commission in front of you back last spring. And in a lighthearted way, it's simply a report so that you do not think the Cemetery Commission will just die off.
That was bad.
That was necessary. The commission will be charged to be responsible for the preservation, care, improvement, enhancement, and management of information about Vine Lake Cemetery. Surprisingly, at the moment, there are no printed guidelines as to how the Cemetery Commission must behave. And to that extent, we will be in conversation with selected commissions in eastern Massachusetts to find out how they are organized, what their focus is, and what the items are on their agenda. So we intend to, as a commission, sit and distill this information and come up with a draft as to how the commission needs to be organized, and then present it to you as a Board of Selectmen, and then have you approve it, and then it is our responsibility to enact it. The issue that, the number of issues that will be addressed in the guidelines will be composition and governance of the Cemetery Commission, its leadership, the frequency of meetings. Since I've been on the commission the last 3 years, I have attended the one regularly called meeting that the commission has had. So this needs to change simply because of the agenda that needs to be brought before the Cemetery Commission.
I'm sorry, did you say you've had one meeting in 3 years?
Yes. For me.
Well, I think that, the commissioners meet, there is a rule.
Okay, Mike, I'm sorry, can you use the microphone?
Yeah. The Cemetery Commission meets when there's a problem at the cemetery, under the current, and where they have their rules and their regulations.
Who's on the
Often
commission?
that, what happens is.
Ken, who's on the commission?
You have Frankie Iavola, you have Al Maganello, and
Tom
you...
Sweeney?
Huh?
Tom Sweeney?
And Tom Sweeney. Right, those were the three original commissioners, and then you added Rob to the commission as a voting member, but under your bylaw, I think it only says you should have 3 voting members, but not all that being said, if there's a problem, if there's a complaint, from a person that wants to put something down there that is outside the regulations, the Cemetery Commission meets, we ask them to write a letter to the commission meets and addresses the issue. That's their position. The Board of Selectmen many years ago put me in charge of the cemetery. So the day-to-day operations, the money, and all the other stuff comes through my office, full-time personnel, and our personnel that are down there. And we usually handle most of our complaints at my level. We don't pass them on to the commission. So if there's not a problem, the commission doesn't meet. I think that the commission, Rob, did the other commissioners know you're here tonight?
If they read the agenda, they did.
What agenda, I mean...
The
I think
Selectmen's agenda. This is a
Okay.
brief
Fine.
report.
That's fine, okay, but I think they weren't notified that we're coming here before the Board of Selectmen, all right? That's the problem. We have a chairman, and I believe it's Tom Sweeney. These people have to be notified if somebody's coming before the Board of Selectmen, and it can't be done just randomly. So I think there's some disconnect already, okay? And we feel as though we're working very well with the existing commissioners, and we're taking care of all the problems and going along. But I think expansion of their duties is not necessary. They only meet if they have a problem. Okay, they're not running the Public Works Department or telling the Public Works how to maintain the cemetery. If you go down the cemetery, you can see that it's well-run. The guys do a great job down there. And so most of the burden of the everyday operations is on my department, not on the commissioners. This sounds like it's an expansion of the commissioners' duties, and again, the selectmen appointed me, gave me the cemetery department to take care of it and to maintain the daily operations, the budgets, the management. If we go up on burial fees, that's the commission's job. Now, they met, I'm going to say 2 years ago, to raise those rates. All right, and we do have a project coming up that we have to run by the commission to see if they want to participate in it. And that is because right now our cremations are going up to about 33%, and we're trying to make accommodations for them. So we will have a proposal for the commissioners to review. That would be in their domain. But day-to-day operations, finances, and management of the cemetery, that is the Public Works Department.
So you would do the budget, not the commissioners?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So I think the commissioners are doing fine, all right? They're there to support me when there's family complaints. Most recent one I think they had to address was somebody didn't like who got buried in their lot. And that's a little bit awkward for the Public Works Department to be addressing, so the commissioners had to do that. Some people want to put things down there that are against the rules and regulations. I will get each one of the selectmen a copy of the rules and regulations of the cemetery, which the commissioners enforce, okay? So, again, anytime there's a problem at the cemetery, very simply, if we can't resolve that problem in the front lines, we ask the people to write a letter to the commissioners review it, then make a decision. And that's the way the department has run for all right along. And you know, you need full-time people, you know, in the finances area and in the support. Recently, I know Christine and John Knapp have headed up a GIS system and a computerized system to upgrade us for more information for people. And it's coming along fine. But that system that we're exploring right now also involves the Board of Health, the Public Works Department, the Water Department, the Sewer Department, not just the cemetery. And, you know, actually, you know, the cemetery is, you know, part of it. But again, this was brought up by Christine, John Knapp from the Public Works Department, and we've had several sessions and things like that. We're doing fine. We're moving along fine. Again, but that's why the frequency of meetings of the commissioners are basically for any appeals of decisions or complaints, and to stay within the rules. I will get you a copy of the regulations for the cemetery.
So whose job, I had a question before, how much life no pun intended, how much life do we have left in the cemetery before that area is filled? Should we be looking to expand? Do we have plenty of time?
We have a plan drawn up by the county engineers for the backside of the cemetery down by the Charles River. It involves a retaining wall. We also have funds in there that for cemetery expansion. We appropriated, I think, about 3 years in a row for cemetery expansion. Just guessing, I'm guessing there may be $100,000 there for cemetery expansion. Public Works Department already has expanded the cemetery for zero costs out of those funds. But we work with the county engineers. They've laid out the cemetery for us, set the bounds, and yeah, we do have room.
Do you have a ballpark? How much time do we have left before that cemetery is filled?
We'll all be down there pushing up daisies, but, you know, it's just...
So it's not like 2 years, it's
Oh, no, not 2 years.
50 years?
No,
Or
it's not at a catastrophic level, no. No, probably 50 years, somewhere around
we
there.
still have like
Well, but-
50 years life?
Yeah.
50 years, we need to start planning then, Ken, is my...
We do.
If I hear 50 years
But,
and
you know,
we're full,
that's what you got. You know, and the current lots that are already sold, you know, if we could sell the lots in 50 years, the current lots you're already sold aren't full. You see, there may not be a burial in a lot for 75 years.
Right.
Yeah, but
See what I
if
mean?
we've
So
sold the
it's-
lots, we don't control them, so that, I mean, then we have to, if what we're looking at is a 50-year horizon, I think we need to start planning for what
Oh, yeah.
what
Well,
happens
I mean,
next.
I don't think you're going to be able to, what our planning right now is based on these cremations, that's 33%. And we should be offering something else. And so we're trying to get some vaults and try and lay out
Be in
portion
there,
of the
yeah.
cemetery.
Yeah.
We're looking at a ledgy area where you can't bury people.
Right, that's a good idea.
And it's relatively inexpensive. You sell them for a profit, obviously,
Sure.
to offset your costs, but it would be competitive. You know, you've got 1,800 a lot. The cost of one of these vaults is like a cost of like about $500 per vault. You know, double. And so then you have to sell it, you know, for a higher amount of money.
Yeah.
So it's just
I guess, I would
because you have to
start,
maintain them, and it's a whole new structure that you're going to have to address for these vaults.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, well, and whatever it is, I mean, I just think that we need to start planning. If I hear
Right.
the idea that we're going to be filled in 50 years, I think that we need to start figuring out what we're going to do next.
You may sell, not filled, sell.
Yeah, well,
Over the
that's
next
the
50
same. If we don't have any more lots to sell,
Yeah.
we're basically full.
Yeah.
And so that I think the town would want us to start planning on that. I hadn't realized that we had a problem. I thought that we had a much longer horizon than that from questions that I had asked before. But I guess I'm more concerned about the role of the cemetery commission, because I had this sense, and this also raises in my mind the issue of the water and sewer commission. Are they called a commission or a board? Water and
Board.
I mean, I was surprised. I thought the water and sewer board ran the water and sewer department pretty much, but I now find out that they don't even see the budgets. And so that I think that if we're going to have citizen boards and commissions, that we should figure out what their role is. I would have thought that the cemetery commission had more of a role than just dealing with appeals, to be
Yeah,
honest.
there's water and sewer the water and sewer board, we go over very closely with the budgets. You
My
know, it's much
understanding was
more
that they don't
active.
have a
Well,
say on the
their roles
budget.
and responsibilities are set out in Mass General Law, and it's not stated that they have day-to-day operation control. They are more a rate-setting,
But I would think that
policy-setting board.
But I would think that but as part of that, I would expect to have them be looking at the budget and making recommendations on the budget. And my understanding is that they don't even see the budget. And so that
No,
that-
yeah, we go over it quite a bit. And matter of fact, every meeting that they have monthly, they go over the budget. So, yeah.
the
we
budget
do.
that you present to town meeting, that you've
We,
vetted with
and
them
not
ahead
only
of
that,
time?
they review the expenditures of that budget. They're a very active board.
Well, I know they're an active board, but I thought that they were looking at the finances, and my understanding is that they were not looking at the finances so much, that was more your bailiwick.
Yeah, well, under state statute, again, I have, you know, as the board has appointed me superintendent of the water and the sewer departments, then I'm covered under state statute to run the water and the sewer
Yeah.
departments, okay?
And so that, the budget that for water and sewer this year, for instance, have you done a budget for water and sewer for this upcoming year that you're putting into the?
Oh, yes, absolutely, yes.
And have you reviewed that with the water and sewer board
Yes.
already?
Oh, yeah, yeah, we
And they've
review.
given their recommendations on it?
Yeah, but they,
Okay.
we review them, and then even the daily, like I say, the monthly expenditures, they review those, just to have input, because they have to set rates. You see what I mean? They're setting rates, so they have to be able to predict what the rates are gonna go up, or if they're gonna stay the same. We can't lose money. Remember, there's a completely different soldier here.
Oh, sure.
This is an enterprise fund.
Absolutely.
And that's where the water and sewer board privy comes in as an enterprise fund. It's not on the tax rate. They cannot run in the red. That's why they have to go up on the rates. We just had a rate hearing, and we had one person there. But still, we have to have a public hearing for those rates, and they have to be privy to those budgets because it's an enterprise fund. They can't lose money. And if we get to a stage where we have too much money in our uncommitted reserves, they vote to reduce the rates. So that's a completely different,
Well, it's been
Picture.
one of the things on my to-do list is to have the Board of Selectmen talk about what role we want the Water and Sewer Board to have, because it was, as I say, it was my understanding that they were not getting involved in the budgets, and I thought that they should. And it sounds, from what Rob is saying, that you're raising issues about what the role of the Cemetery Commission is, and so it seems to me that maybe we could combine both discussions and have a discussion after town meeting as to what those roles should be for these different, I guess my sense is that if you're gonna have citizen advisory committees, that you'd wanna have them weigh in on a lot of issues involving the things that they're,
Well,
yeah, I would think that you
they
would
do
invite
that,
the
so-
entire board in.
Yeah, I mean, they do that, but we also have to be careful, you know, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I mean, I kind of, that was kind of a saying that, you know, has always gone down in our family, kind of an old thing, so we have to be careful that we're not just trying to look at, I don't know, reorganize every committee in the town just for the hell of it. You know, I just to do something to do. I don't understand. If things are running quite well, why we're going to waste a lot of time and effort dissecting things. And I also want to be careful, personally, from our role, I didn't think that we were the chief operating officers of the town and that we're supposed to make all the operational decisions. So we do want to be careful that maybe we don't overstep our bounds and do let people run their departments and the boards, you know, take care of what they're charged with, as opposed to us stepping in and telling everyone what to do, you know, on a micromanaging basis. So I just get concerned a little bit about that, too.
absolutely, yeah.
You know,
I see our role
we get
as
sticking our
policy,
nose into
absolutely.
everything. Well, you know, I just want to be careful that we don't stick our nose into too many things, because then all of a sudden, I don't know, we just,
But I think
Be a
it's
disaster.
Mark, I think it's a policy decision as to whether or not you have citizen committees and actually what their role should be with the entity that they're
yeah. but it-
interacting with.
Yeah, but like example, the Water and Sewer Board, they meet regularly. Ken's indicated to us that they have a very frank and open dialogue and a lot of give and take back and forth, and they've done a lot of great work, particularly planning with new water tower and all that stuff, so.
Well,
It'd be great, I guess we
yeah.
can hear a little bit more what they do, but I'm not quite sure that, I didn't know there was a problem, so I'm not quite sure that
Well, I was
we,
concerned
you
when
know.
when I was told that they didn't deal with the monies, that they didn't,
Well-
that the budget was not presented to them, because I thought that was something that they should be. But
Mm.
Ken is saying that the budget is presented to them, so maybe I misunderstood in some way.
Yeah, we went to the warrant committee jointly with the Water and Sewer Board. Water and Sewer Board did the long-range planning, which is, basically, that's their privy, because they have to set the rates, and I presented the operations. And that's where the separation is. But, yes, we were at the warrant committee together.
I think, just my own opinion, you both raise an interesting question, so maybe, since there's confusion, maybe after town meeting, if we get everyone together, we can work it out so everybody's on the same page, that everybody knows what everybody's role is.
I'm sorry, your presentation's been interrupted for a while. Can you continue, please?
I can. I think the gist of the last 15 minutes conversation clarifies 2 points that need to be made. One is that it appears that the Cemetery Commission is only called into action when there is a problem. My understanding is that the Cemetery Commission is proactive. One of the things you asked us last spring was to come up with a 5-year plan. That's certainly going to require some progressive thinking and planning and execution. So if the only time we meet is to review fees or to deal with another kind of issue, then is that the way the town of Medfield wants the Cemetery Commission to act? The second point of view that was raised in the last 15 minutes was that a number of the issues that Ken outlined as day-to-day operational tasks are not brought before the Cemetery Commission for their edification or their knowledge. And so the question is, in a larger sense, does the town of Medfield wish to invest only the direction of the cemetery in a cemetery superintendent, or is there a reason, and you were beginning to get to the nub of it at the last part of the conversation, for there to be a cemetery commission? Now, I think that's the issue that needs to be resolved, because all of a sudden it's come to a head here that the Cemetery Commission is used marginally, and that's not my understanding. That's not the reflection of the way the Cemetery Commission is used in the other contiguous towns to Medfield. So the idea to come before you was to engage in open conversation relative to what the Cemetery Commission wants to do, whether it is seen as an expansion of responsibilities or a clarification of responsibilities. I think that is the nub of the problem, where there's some contention at the moment that needs to be resolved.
It would certainly make sense to me that there be a discussion of all of this with all the 4 cemetery commission members, and maybe we could do that after the town meeting when we look at the Water and Sewer Board as well.
Well, I've certainly engaged the other members in conversation relative to what action plan needs to be adopted by the Cemetery Commission, because there are just a number of issues with regard to the cemetery that need to be addressed, brought into the open, expressed to the Board of Selectmen, and communicated both to the town of Medfield citizens as well as lot owners. Tonight was an example of what is happening.
Mhm. Well, it certainly sounds to me like it would be fruitful to have further discussion. Are we in agreement? So maybe after the town meeting, there'll be, when things get quieter in town government, then maybe we can pick a date and have the whole cemetery commission and Ken, and we can try to sort out what direction we want to be going in.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And our next appointment is with Ken. Discussion regarding proposed schedule for paving of subdivision streets, proposed Roach Brothers sidewalk, proposed sidewalk from Pound Street to Shaw's, Chapter 90 funds.
Roach Brothers, which is a kind of a pressing issue. They were obviously going along, construction, everything. We have a contractor bid estimate for us, not including materials, and this is typically the way we do sidewalks. We buy the materials, and we help install. We do the demolition, and so we set this thing up to keep it cheap. It's about $18,000, a little over $18,300 to have a contractor come in and do Roach Brothers. He's available in the month of May, which is, I don't know who can communicate with Roach Brothers, because it's certainly not me. I ran into them on my way into a water and sewer board meeting, and I said, look, we can get the job done, no problem, before you open. We do have a contractor on board right now. He's available for the month of May.
That's excellent. My understanding is Sarah was trying to set a meeting up, I think either Thursday or Friday, to get everyone together on that, as I got from an email. That's a great price, $18,000.
$18,000. Remember now, that doesn't include obviously DPW labor, which we don't charge anyway. But we will set the project up. We will come in, remove the sidewalk, and set the project up for him, and then he will come in and do the work. We will buy the cement. We will buy the brick. And so there'll be an additional cost to that. But Roach Brothers has pledged $30,000. I
Right.
can't see why we would ever wait on this project for them to be completely open and then have construction in front of a store.
Absolutely.
That it doesn't make sense.
Absolutely.
So we can get it done. I'm looking at
That's great.
a week, 2 weeks, max 3 weeks done.
They were hoping between May 1 and June 1 that the work could be completed.
Yeah, we can, like I said, we can start in May and certainly be done by June 1.
And then you'd also have to have the grates with the
The
trees.
grades, yep, we've looked up on the grades. We've
And-
done the research on that, yep.
And then the other issue became, which I think you and I discussed before, there was some concern I think you had, I think Roland had, I know Mike Leaders had, with the existing trees that are there. And I think your point was that the trees that were in there now, the roots have raised the sidewalks and the curbing in another area. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, was your recommendation to actually take those trees down. And I know at first I was like, oh, those trees. But you said you had money to replant. And I actually had Mike Leaders take a look, and he agreed with your statement, saying the trees he thought had about 10 years of life left because of the stress being in that sidewalk, being on 109, a limited route area. And he actually went along that if you were going to do the sidewalk, now would be the time to replace those trees with new trees. Is that what you're still thinking?
Yeah, the trees, their useful life has probably gone by because they're lifting the sidewalk. And this is what happens when you plant the wrong tree. And the sidewalks are up there. We've got a wicked, right now, trip and fall sidewalks being lifted and stuff like that. So now you got more foot traffic going to come in with Roach Brothers. It's really time for them to go now rather than later. Those trees, in what Mike recommended was a limited root system tree, and which it will work down in the downtown. So I think that's the route we should go. I think what we have to do is I have to advertise in the paper 2 consecutive weeks, post the trees for takedown, and then have a hearing. We generally have the hearing during the day. If anybody comes in and appeals it, it goes to the Board of Selectmen after that. So that's the procedure. If the Board of Selectmen tonight wants me to proceed with removal of the trees, and we certainly can do it, but maybe we have to wait until we meet with Roach Brothers too. So.
I just want to thank you for your support in this, and I just think it's great for the town that Roach Brothers is basically going to pay for this entire cost. If they were going to put 30,000, that 18,000 was, I think, much less than I was thinking. I think even Bobby had originally a higher figure, so I think that's great news.
Yeah, again, a lot of what we do, whenever we do sidewalks, especially cement, that's not our expertise, cement. So we bring in the subcontractors. We do the demolition. They come in and they do the finish work, and we support them. And that keeps the costs down. And that's, the same thing that happened on Pound Street. This is the same contractor down on, he worked for the contractor down on Pound Street, and he's now split off from that contractor. But still, he understands the system and how we work to hold our costs down.
This is going to be a little unusual because some of the property is controlled by Roach Brothers, some is the town of Medfield. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, but they wanted one contractor who actually would do both projects, but one would be under Roach Brother and the other would be under town of Medfield. Is that correct?
That is correct. Might be a little bit confusing for the project, but I think that's not a problem. That's I think we can work that out.
Great.
I think we need one more meeting, and we have a plan now.
Great.
I mean, it was sprung on. I mean, obviously, Roach Brothers came in quick, and they moved very fast, very, very quickly through all the planning stages. Planning board, zoning board, all that stuff, and so they're moving quick. So we got to move quick, and we're ready for it. We're ready for it in May.
I think if people don't know, the idea, if you know where Pound Street is, that what they did of the bricking along Pound Street would be the same type of thing they would do from the parking lot of the new Roach Brothers on South Street, around the corner, up to the jewelry store where the library property begins.
That's correct.
And I just think it's gonna make it look great. It makes sense coming in when Roach Brothers is gonna be a plus to the downtown area. I just want to thank the Highway Department and Ken also for his support on that. That's great.
So do we need to take a vote to get going with the trees? I mean, if there's such a lead time.
I think we have to wait for the
Trees.
hearings.
Well,
But we got to
it
authorize
sounds like
him.
Ken's asking whether we want him to go ahead with the trees, and
Oh.
so we should tell him tonight, I think, whether we should or not, because of the.
Yeah, to post
lead
for the
time
hearings,
we
because it's going to take forever, to go
So
through the hearings and
It
stuff.
makes sense to me, based on what I've heard from our volunteer arborists, Mike, leaders, that it.
We need to
is
get the
time
trees
do
out of
it,
there.
so.
That would be. I mean, and you can do a contingent upon the meeting with Roach Brothers or whatever. But
That's fine.
I still have to advertise them and post them.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah,
fine.
well, I think we're in agreement up here, Ken, that you should go ahead and replace the trees, so thank you.
If people in the community have an issue, they'll have that opportunity in a hearing to express that.
Yep. So do you want to talk next, Ken, about the discussion regarding proposed schedule of paving of subdivision streets?
Sure. We have a subdivision list that we're going to chip seal. We have Adams Street now. Adams Street last year we paved in the middle, right by the schools where the heavy traffic zone is. We're going to take Adams Street and we're going to go from the other end, the beginning of Adams Street down by Joe Ryan. We're going to come forward up to Dale.
Yep.
And then we skip over and we go down to West Mill, and we go down from West Mill, we go up to West Street.
Yeah.
And that'll be with stone seal. We have some drainage down on the lower section of Adams Street that we're going to have to put some drainage in. We don't have any drainage easements along the way, so we're probably going to do some dry wells up there and try and improve the drainage on the lower end. We'll probably put some galleys in under the street and stuff like that. So we got a little bit of work to do down there to prep that. We'll be doing that probably in April and prepping that road. But that's probably the most prep. The other roads that we've got going here are Bishop Lane, Copperwood, Cottage Street, Frary Street.
What was it before Frary? Was it Pound?
Huh?
Before Frary, was it Pound?
No, not Pound. No. It was Bridge, Bishop. Do you want me to give you the list? I'm struggling here.
You had Copperwood.
Late in the
Sure, yeah,
day,
you
Frary
Copperwood.
Street, Mitchell Place, Mitchell Street, School Street, Upham Road,
Yeah.
Vinyl Road, and Winter. How's that for a blind
All
man?
righty.
We're also looking at including the Lowell Mason area, those streets in there. We went over those again today. And I think that the question on the board is, how do we make these, we have a schedule. We usually try and keep the streets relatively close together to keep the price of the stone seals down.
Right, yeah.
But we've been here before with stone seals, and then after the winter, some streets will fall off, some streets will have to be done. So that's where we're at on this. We do have a lot of prep work to do in April. We have to do some grinding, some asphalt, some hot top to be put in. We have to, if there's alligator cracking, you can't put a stone seal over it. You've got to grind all the alligator cracking out and put asphalt in to shore it up. If you don't have a good base for stone seal, it doesn't work. So we have a lot of work to do this.
Do you know, have you, is Knollwood anywhere on your list? Because that gets a lot of traffic, and that the middle part of Knollwood is like, it looks like there was one there, and that's worn away, and it's in rough condition, the middle of Knollwood.
Yeah, we'll take a look at Knollwood, but I don't know if, we'll see. Knollwood's, it is a traffic road. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a pretty good traffic road.
Yeah.
We can take a look down there and see what's going on down there, but if it's appropriate for stone seal. So, yeah, we'll look at Knollwood. That's no problem.
So Ken, are all these streets you listed, they're they're going to get stone seal then?
Stone seal,
Or
yes.
was part of Adams going to be different than stone seal, or is?
Yes, the middle section by the school last year, we asphalted. Okay?
But the rest of it's going to be stone seal?
Well, you got the school buses in that area.
Yeah.
Yeah, stone seal doesn't work really good
Yeah.
with heavy traffic
But are you paving any
vehicles.
of Adams with asphalt this year, or is it just stone seal on the parts that you're doing on Adams?
Stone seal.
Yeah, okay.
But
So
isn't-
everything is stone
well,
seal this
I
year?
think, wasn't the gas company going to come in
That's correct.
from
Absolutely correct.
west to West Mill?
We just
Because
went
they
over that.
dug that whole trench up.
Yeah.
And they assured us they were going to. Do they work with you on that, or is that a private?
I'll have to call Carl again and talk to him, remind him that he promised us to do those
He did.
gas
He promised
trenches.
that would be
So he's going
early.
to grind those out and he's going to asphalt them, which would be, I mean, it has to be done. Stone
Right.
seal will not work over those trenches.
Right.
So yeah, it has to be done. That came up today when we were riding the streets, yeah.
Anything more on the subdivision?
Nope.
Next item, Ken, is proposed sidewalk from Pound Street to Shaw's.
Yeah, the
I
sidewalk.
can use your glasses here for you.
Nope, I don't need it. This one here is, this is a typical, what we would use Chapter 90 for, is a design to do it. This is a major project. You're going to be looking at maybe 2.5, 3 million.
Wow.
And that's because the road has to be part of it. You're going to have to put drainage in along Main Street, because when you put a sidewalk in, you put vertical berm, that traps the water.
Yep.
It's going to involve drainage easements from landowners. And it's a high water table. The landowners are already on the right-hand side heading out of town.
Yes, yeah.
They got a high water table now. It's a lot of work to be done. There's going to be drainage calculations involved. It's definitely engineering, and this is why we, use our Chapter 90 funds to do the engineering.
Yeah, because if you think about it, yeah, with all those houses on the right side there, you gotta be careful of where you bring the water.
That's
Not into
correct,
someone's
yeah.
backyard.
That's
Or their
correct.
basement, obviously.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because it is.
And I think it'd be difficult, too, getting from the gas station to the Sunoco, be in between gas stations, because you have parking areas, you have the hill coming up by Shaw's. How would you even run a sidewalk? I mean, there's real engineering issues there.
That's not, yeah, that is not too bad. We can handle that, maybe with a low retaining wall if you're cutting into the slope. But the thing is, 109 is pretty flat through there. So the reason it's so expensive is you're going to be working on 109. You may have a little bit of a reconstruction. You may have to make hills on 109, nothing that the eyeball or anybody would be seeing, but you would have
For
to
the
make
water.
low spots so the water would go to the drainage,
Yep.
and then where's the drainage going from there? That's a major issue. We have big issues out there. We could probably do a preliminary, which would be cheaper than trying to get into a full-blown design that may never be built because we can't get drainage easements. But we could probably do a preliminary, for short change, and then run it before the board.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so maybe that makes some sense to look into. I don't know. You guys can talk about that.
Great.
think that there was a question about who's in charge of the Chapter 90. I don't know if it was Richards or anything. You guys are. If we have a project request and we're going to use Chapter 90, the board has to sign off
Sign
on it.
off on it, yep.
Okay.
So when you're doing something, Ken, like the sidewalk from Pound to Shaw's, and you're talking about using Chapter 90 money for that, we have, the way that Mike has explained it, and I think you've explained it, is that we have Chapter 90 money in the bank that we've been saving up for North Street, I gathered. But we might divert some of that to the Shaw's, the sidewalk up.
No.
109
Right
or-
now, North Street's design, we've already got Chapter 90. We already appropriated Chapter 90. We have enough money to finish the design under Chapter 90 on North Street, so we're not diverting any funds from any project
Okay,
to go anywhere else. It's when I refer to saving Chapter 90, we are very frugal with it because of these major problems that you have, that you encounter. And when we use it for design, it's to get more money from the state. That's the way it works. You spend the cost of a road, say, I'm thinking a design would be about 10% of the cost of the road, cost of the
Okay.
project. So
Okay.
you're using 10% of your Chapter 90, you're saving,
For 10%.
and then you're getting
Then you
the
get the
bigger
tip money,
project.
and then you get the tip
Yeah.
money for the bigger roads, yeah.
That's
Okay,
correct.
okay,
But you gotta be
okay.
patient, you gotta wait on the list, 5 years, could be 10 years sometimes, you know?
anything more on the Chapter 90 funds? That was the last thing on your list that's on our agenda.
No, other than, we'd like to have more, but that's, not
Yeah. Ken, one of the things that we've been seeing a lot about at the selectmen level is investing in pavement management. This is an article, for instance, from the Municipal Advocate.
Walpole, those guys
Is
over
that
in
what this is?
Walpole.
Yeah.
No, they started in Westwood.
They said it was- yeah,
I'm fully aware of
I
who they
know, I
are
know.
and what goes on, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, it seems to me that it makes sense. Do we have sort of a pavement management plan in Medfield?
We have a pavement management plan in Medfield, backed up by a highway foreman that's got over 50 years on the department, and myself with I think we understand roads fine.
Yeah, okay.
The way that works is if you want to go to town meeting and get the big nut, like $1 million from town meeting,
Yeah.
down in Westwood, their roads were so bad, they went out on a pavement management program. The roads that were real bad, they recommended don't fix right away. Don't fix them because they're already a reconstruction. Save the other roads. Well, our attitude is we save the roads before they become a full depth reconstruction problem. And that's what the stone seals do. That's what the crack fill does. Crack fill is supposed to extend the life of a road 5 years. That's the way we do it. We save the roads in advance, and just that's our pavement management program.
Yeah.
Westwood had an awful problem down there. I don't even know who the superintendent was. I know when Timmy Walsh went down there, he had this pavement management program come in because he went to town meeting and he asked for $1 million to start straightening out the roads from the town meeting. And I think they might have appropriated maybe 3, 4, 5 years in a row, $1 million to fix their roads and including and throwing in the Chapter 90 on top of that. That's the situation he took over down there.
Yeah.
It was
Well,
their roads were that
I can
bad.
see where obviously he didn't need to do that because he'd
Right.
have to provide people with a lot
Yeah.
of facts and figures and maps and stuff too.
Now, I didn't know Bobby O'Brien over in Walpole did a pavement management program, but maybe he hasn't. He might be having some problems over there too.
Yeah, because because he spoke at the MMA meeting this year. And I
Bobby
think
O'Brien?
I think so, yeah. from
Okay,
Walpole.
from Mass Highway then. He probably
yeah.
spoke from.
Yeah. Or who the guy, is he from
Well,
Walpole?
Bobby O'Brien's the superintendent in Walpole.
Walpole, yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
he did a pavement management.
Yeah, I think they might have just started and stuff like that, or started looking
Okay,
at that and stuff
yeah.
like that. Because he mentioned you, very favorably in the meeting and stuff like that, so.
He better.
Yeah, he talked about, he
Or I
thought you
won't
did
go
a
out
great
for-
job. He
I won't
talked
go out
about-
and have a beer with him at Christmas anymore. So,
With the sealing, because he talked a lot about sealing. He talked about sealing the roads and stuff like that.
that's correct, yeah. And I
Stone
think that
sealing.
for the most part, mentality in Medfield, they're used to the stone seals. They tried to go to stone seals in Norwood, and they almost hung the superintendent down there. because they were used to asphalt in their
Yes,
subdivisions.
OC, yeah.
So I think, we've been doing them so long now. I can always tell when somebody's new in town because they don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And when you tell them that's what you had on your road before, they said, wow, I didn't even understand. But after a winter, it all blends in, and that kind of stuff. The major mistake with stone seals is, once you put them out, right after winter, you've got to maintain them. Even if you have a break in the winter, you got to get the street sweeper out there to get up all the little pebbles and things like that.
Yeah.
So you've got to maintain it that first year.
Yeah.
It's a liability. It's a, not a liability, but it's a something that you have to have that attitude that you got to maintain it that first year. You got to take care of it, and then after that, you're home free.
Yeah.
And in a subdivision, 15 years.
Oh, I would think so, sure, yeah.
15 years. So that buys you a lot of time.
Sure does.
When you stone seal, you get another 15 years out of the road?
In a subdivision, yeah,
Sure.
because of the low traffic
yeah,
volumes.
Low
Yeah.
traffic, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Any more questions?
No, I just, maybe you can convey to your, the highway crew, I know this was a difficult winter, and you guys were outside, because you didn't have a highway garage to be inside, and this was a brutally cold winter. You guys were operating outside in the cold, and I know trying to fix things when it's that cold, it's below zero, it's a difficult thing to do. So if you can convey, I'm sure this board's just appreciation that all the highway, what they went through this winter, that it's appreciated.
Yeah, this is about, I think as far as I can remember, the coldest winter we've had
Yeah.
in all the years I've been here. We have the equipment for snow. We can remove snow, but when the diesels start freezing
Yeah.
and things just freeze up, while they're operating, they were freezing up,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
Yeah, bad
And
winter to be without your garage.
I know sitting down there in the trailer that we're living out of, which is cozy, with all the guys, but it's looking at we had the thermometer there, and
Yeah.
usually in a snowstorm you win when the sun comes up, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, and to watch the temperature drop when the sun comes up was just absolutely demoralizing. It was just crazy, and then of course salt loses its ability to melt snow at 20
A
degrees.
couple of times you had to get something different, right?
Yeah, we did calcium.
Calcium.
We did calcium, yeah. So it's difficult. The guys, that the sanders froze. I mean, that's ridiculous. They had to get in the back with bars and break the stuff out. They had a tough winter. These guys really, they're a great group.
Yeah.
And I appreciate your recognition because
No, yeah, we
they're a
know
great
that
group.
they do. Great guys are good. Very
Yeah,
good.
please do let them know that we all appreciate what they did this winter.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming in, Ken.
Thanks, Ken.
And I had asked a long time ago if maybe you could come and give us like a Highway 101, an explanation of how maybe after town meeting sometime during the summer when things aren't as busy, and explain to us how all the,
Update on our status on North Street
Yeah,
and where we're going with things.
Yep.
that'd be great.
Yep,
That'd be
that'd be
good.
wonderful.
Because people will be asking, yeah.
I find chapter 90 about the most obtuse thing in the world, I'm afraid, so.
Well, I know that the past Mass Highway Associations, the amount of Chapter 90 that is spent on mass transportation compared to what goes on to local roads is just absolutely devastating.
Oh, yeah.
And they did a survey, what percent of the population, the MBTA, do they serve? It's about
Right.
4%.
Yeah.
And the rest of the state, the 96% of the state, it gets nickels compared to
Sure.
the mass transportation.
Yeah, no,
So it's
yeah.
kind of it's a little crutch that Mass Highway has that they don't appreciate, but.
Thank you so much for
Thanks.
coming.
Thanks, Ken.
Under our action items, the Board of Water and Sewage Commission, Commissioner Willis Peligian requests status change from full member to associate. Respectfully requests accept his resignation from the Enterprise Fund Committee. William Harvey, associate member, requests appointment as full member of the board and requests appointment to the Enterprise Fund Committee. So they're swapping spots.
Normally, we would wait and do this after town meeting, we do our reappointments, but Willis's work schedule has increased by about tenfold, so we need to do it now so that
Okay.
Bill can attend those meetings and be a voting member.
All right, that sounds
Do we
great.
have a motion on that?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, can we have Ron Gustafson from the Cultural Committee here? Can we maybe jump to him?
Absolutely.
Thursday night, we're awarding certificates of appreciation to the grantees for the LCC grants from the Medfield Cultural Council.
Mhm.
And we have 13 certificates to sign for the selectmen.
Excellent, great.
So,
All right, well,
Thank you
Sound
for
good.
shepherding all of those grants through the, it adds a lot to the town, I think, the things that you guys support, so thank you for what you're doing.
Do we
thank you.
want to sign them as we're working through things, or how do we want
Sure.
to do that? Yeah.
Let me give these to Mark, and, because the next item on the agenda is Selectman DeSorga wishes to discuss Bullard Marketplace parking as he received a letter from Green Street resident.
I received a letter, and Evelyn kindly ran that off. I think each of you have that. I'm not sure if you had a chance to look at that. I just want to make note, Maria DeLuca, who lives on Green Street, raised the issue that it appears to be on Friday nights that the parking lot is, because of the restaurants that are in there, is filled to capacity, and now the cars are parking out onto Green Street. And her point is that there's no defined sidewalk on Green Street. In other words, the street and the sidewalk runs right in. So they're parking up onto the sidewalk. And Green Street, as she points out, is a fairly narrow street, especially down at that end. She says it appears to be generally between the hours of 6 and 9. And she points out that with better weather coming, more people are going to be out trying to walk on the sidewalks. She makes a suggestion that Rockland Bank across the street is closed during those hours. Could something perhaps be worked out? And I'm not sure I know the answer to that, but she's raising the issue of parking on Green Street as a safety issue.
I think maybe the restaurants could maybe post a little notice or something to encourage people to maybe, if they check first with Rockland, if they could park across the street.
Is
or
that
make
legal?
them-
How do we do that?
We
Well,
can
we have-
check with Rockland. My guess is Rockland is going to say no because of the liability issue. But Mike and I can talk with them about that.
And maybe have the chief take a look at the issue, too. and-
It's a good thing, it's a good
I mean, it's a
problem to have.
good problem to have.
It's a really good
yeah.
problem to have, because I did notice that on Friday, and sometimes Saturday nights too, when I drive down Green Street, like I said, it's a nice problem to have, to see businesses are so busy, and then zebras with people all parked all the way up North Street on both sides. It's really nice to see. It's good.
I'll talk to the chief and see if we can come up with a
Yeah,
solution.
see if he, yeah.
Thank you.
Our next item, under licenses and permits, Medfield Youth Baseball and Softball announces the opening day festivities are going to be on Sunday, May 4, 2014. The selectmen are invited to participate. The organization is requesting a parade permit and permission to place signs announcing the event. Do we have a motion to that effect?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Yep. Gazebo Players of Medfield request permission to perform their 13th annual Shakespeare in the Park production of The Winter's Tale, and it's going to be on July 19 and 20 at 5 p.m. in the Gazebo Park. Also requesting permission to post signs 2 weeks prior to advertise the event. Is there a motion?
So moved also, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
All in favor? Yes.
Aye.
Noon Hill Grill requests permission to open at 10 a.m. on Easter Sunday.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Newentown requests a one-day wine and malt beverage permit for their annual meeting at the Zulu Gallery on Thursday, April 17, 7 to 10 p.m.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
A one-day wine and malt beverage permit is requested for a wedding reception at the First Parish Unitarian Universalist Church, North Street, on April 19 from 4 to 9 p.m.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second it?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Me too. Church of the Advent requests permission to post signs promoting their annual Mother's Day plant sale from April 19 to May 10. Locations, and they give the locations.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Yep. Girl Scouts request permission to hold their annual bottle and can drive on May 17, 9 to 3 at the transfer station. Permission to post signs promoting the event.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Me too. Cystic fibrosis, United Church of Christ requests permission to use the area at Baker's Pond for its annual picnic on Sunday, June 1,
So moved.
11 to 1.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Cystic Fibrosis Foundation requests permission to conduct the annual Cycle of Life bicycle tour through the part of Medfield on Saturday, October 11, 2014.
Just a question, has that been checked by the chief?
Yes,
Okay, so moved.
gets involved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Medfield State Hospital update.
Just very brief, at the town election yesterday, the voters passed the Proposition 2.5 debt exclusion override. 1,227 yes and 104 no. And only 9 blanks.
Yeah, only 9 blanks, as opposed to my 200 and whatever some odd blanks on mine. I don't need 6 blanks.
I did have a meeting with Mary Beth yesterday, and we are just waiting for Representative Garlick to officially file the legislation for the state hospital. But it's my understanding that has not been done.
Okay.
Well, one more item, if I may. You asked about the water tower and wellfield legislation. John Harney spoke with Senator Timilty yesterday, and it's coming up for vote in the Senate on Thursday. So hopefully by the end of the
Good.
week, it'll be
Yeah.
off to the governor for
That's
signature.
great. That'd be really good.
Great.
Mr. Chairman, can I just, because I know Steve Nolan has asked a couple of times
He has.
on the issue of what is I actually had several points. What is the status of the current reuse committee? I think we need to address that. I also think we just spoke to Representative Dooley. I would like to get perhaps Senator Timilty and Representative Garlick in as well, just to convey the urgency and the concern we have that it's in their ballpark, and this thing is going to have to pass under their leadership with that. And I also received a note from John Harney with a suggestion. I'd like to just read that as well. He says, the makeup of the new committee, as your board considers the makeup of a new committee to fashion a master plan, which is something else I think we have to do, is to how are we going to deal with that? For the 134 acres, I believe it will also be advantageous to weigh the wisdom of appointing a second committee of qualified individuals to pursue possible sources of public, i.e. federal, state, foundation, or other funding, given the environmentally sensitive and potential of the property. The object, of course, is to lessen the town's outlay, spare some property development, and benefit from each other's experience in similar situations. It may be kind of a reach, but he feels we should look into that. And the other issue I had is, before we make up a new committee, I'd like some guidance. Perhaps we can bring the old committee in to say what, for example, what type of skills, what type of person would be best to serve on this new hospital development committee. And I think everyone feels it should be a small committee as opposed to a larger committee that they had before.
I don't necessarily feel
You
that.
don't agree with that, but...
I think that a lot of the committees that have been large have worked very well, so.
Well, I think we have
I
to
think that
work...
committee did.
I think we have to work those issues out,
Yep.
and I think we need to do so soon.
I
Yes.
agree, and I know that, Chris, you had wanted to sort of wait until September to constitute things. I don't think we should be waiting that long.
I think you need to take, you asked me at the last meeting last week to talk to Steve, and I haven't had a chance to talk to him yet regarding this, is that you actually, today have already started to receive statements of interest from people who want to serve on the committee. I don't think that you can get going on the committee until we are closer to an actual legislative approval.
I think we can start planning. I don't think it stops us from planning before we have the legislative approval in anticipation that we're gonna get it. I mean, if we do planning and we get derailed on the legislation, then we're nowhere.
I wouldn't spend the $125,000-$130,000 to start the master planning process.
No,
Until
I
you have
wouldn't
legislative
either.
Well, I'm not sure I would either, but I don't think that stops us from pulling the people together and having them start to talk and do the planning process, the organizational and the, I think there's a lot of other things to do other than spend that money.
I agree. I just think realistically, it's already April 1st, believe it or not. If you start getting statements of interest and don't appoint the committee until, say, mid-May, most committees don't meet over the summer. There's a significant number of people who go out of town. I would think that you would appoint them over the summer and have them hit the ground running in September. That was my September guideline, not to slow the project down, but to, you're not going to get a full committee to meet several times over the summer.
My only point was that I'd like to see the old committee come in. I don't know what type of person needs to be on that committee. I really don't know. I'd like to tap their expertise, not
Okay.
actually appoint the committee, but actually find out what type of a committee should be appointed, and size. Should it be a large, should it be a small? Work out a lot of those, and then I think your statement makes a lot of sense. But I think Pete's correct. I think if we do a lot of that prep work ahead of time,
Absolutely.
I think we'd be more the wiser.
Why don't we ask that committee to come in and meet with us at our next meeting then? Does that make sense, Mark?
Yeah, or some people, just to get some feedback if they can. Like I said, we're getting pretty busy here for April. We got a town meeting coming up, and, but if we can get them just to come in, or a few members can come in, just maybe give us, yeah, some of their feedback on what worked and what didn't work, maybe with the current committee, that would be great.
And I think, how do we answer Steve Nolan's question?
Well, I think that,
I
I would
think
assume that
I think when Steve comes in, we'll have that conversation.
yeah, I mean, essentially, they're really done. I mean, you know, obviously, they've done what we've asked them to do.
I don't think
basically.
the negotiating committee is done in terms of the hospital project until
Right.
the legislation
Right,
passes.
and they would
And
know
and
that,
that committee is actually not part of the SHAC, that's a separate
It's
committee.
separate.
Subcommittee, right, yeah.
I mean, part of my
Right.
thought was to ask SHAC if they wanted to continue as a committee, because there's a lot of expertise on that committee. And a lot of them have expressed a real interest in the hospital, so there may be a pool of talent there to start with.
Well, I think it would be a great idea for people that are interested, once again, to send us a letter of interest. And so we can start fresh. I think that would be good. So we give everyone an opportunity to kind of recommit. I think that, I would recommend we kind of go that way. We did get one
Because
letter
it's a
already.
different charge. I mean, it's gonna be a very different charge.
Yeah,
than
no,
most.
and I think it's good, and I think it would be important, I think it's really, it's a very, gonna be a very important committee. I'd like to see us spend our time to really vet the people, and the only way we can do it is, I think, if we get a letter of interest from the folks and we can really kind of hash it out. I don't want, I would be concerned if we willy-nilly appoint people to this committee without giving it a lot of thought, and just decide in, 2 minutes one night because 3 people said they wanted to join and someone said, I thought it would be a good idea. It's, because it's a big deal. So I'd really like to have a good deliberative process about it, through April, May, or June, whatever, so we can take our time to kind of find the right people, because it's gonna be a big deal. It isn't, it's
Well,
gonna take some while.
Why don't we put out an indication then to the various media members and on the town website that we're looking for that
Yep.
expression of interest, and let's not try to have it go through June, but let's try to
Right.
do it
No.
in April.
No. Like I said, we got our first letter from Mr. Costello today, so we're looking pretty good, so it's good.
Pending, Mr. DeSorga wishes to discuss MBTA letter for removal of tracks on Harding and Farm Streets.
I just was wondering where that is.
Mike and I actually met earlier this week about it. He has not sent the letter, and he's got some concerns. He met with the police chief, and there's an indication that if the tracks are removed, that the speed will increase at that intersection.
What intersection? farm?
Harding and Farm, within that.
Well, there's two different ones. One's Harding and then
Harding.
one's Farm.
Yeah, they're not
Harding
intersections.
Harding one?
intersection, Yes. So the police chief wanted to take a little more time to look at that.
Okay.
I know they had a conversation with Mark Sorrell regarding the liability on that road, because there are more accidents on there than you would normally expect, so.
But the chief is okay on Farm.
My indication was okay on Farm, but he wanted to talk about it further with Michael.
Okay.
So maybe when he has, he can come in then, or,
Yep,
yeah, and
I'll
chat
talk
with
about
us or something,
Mhm.
or else through Michael. Okay, that'd be good.
So can we just leave that on pending then?
Absolutely. Montrose House letter.
Mike was gonna look at that. The Montrose, what is the Cushman House on North Street? I noticed there's still broken windows that are on that. And I believe Mike was going to try to touch base to see
He is,
what they're doing with that.
he hasn't had a chance to talk to them.
Okay.
He's gonna take a walk over there between the special town meeting.
Oh, yeah,
Two
absolutely.
special town meetings, and this,
Right.
we've been, kind
Absolutely.
of fell off our radar screen, so.
Absolutely.
He will, given our relationship with Montrose, rather than send a letter, he's
Yeah,
gonna
I think
go
maybe
over
an
and
informal thing
have
usually
talk
works
with him.
better.
That's great.
Let's have a chat with him.
Thank you.
Rather than sending a letter, because it's, yeah.
And then Park Street signs.
I put that on. I know you've raised this issue, Mr. Chairman, in the past, and the more I look at it, I'm just concerned from an economic standpoint that a lot of those businesses on Park Street don't last very long, because people going down 109 don't know the businesses down there. And we got a couple of new businesses that are in there that I hope are going to do very well there, but we're trying to look every possible way we can to, how can we help the taxpayers of the town and help the tax base. One way is to keep these small shops, small businesses here in town. And I'm wondering if there's some way we can relook, maybe bring in the sign committee, maybe would be the first step to get their views to see, is there some way we can have some type of a sign out on 109 that would let the people on 109 realize what businesses are down on Park Street? And maybe my suggestion would be maybe to bring in the sign committee as a first step on that. And I know there's private land and there's other issues, but I'd like to begin to look at that before we lose some of the businesses that are down there.
I agree wholeheartedly. We need to do something. The problem, the last time that I brought this up was the issue of off-premises signs. And so I think that what we should have, maybe we could ask Sarah Raposa, the town planner, to confer with somebody and come back to us with a suggested solution for our next meeting, or an approach maybe.
The issue is it's currently not allowed under the zoning bylaw. You can't have off-premises signs on
So that-
private property. So it would need, a sign committee and a ZBA change. on that.
So
Would
maybe we
that be
can bring the
town
sign
meeting?
committee-
That would be town meeting? Would that be a town meeting? Or
What
they'd have
if
to change
a
that?
private business donated
Yeah, I mean, if
land or
Needham
something?
Bank, well, that would be the question. If Needham Bank was willing to have a sign on their property, would that be permitted then?
No, because
that's
it would be
violation of
private
zoning.
property, and it's a violation of the sign bylaw.
But if they gave that to the town of Medfield,
I don't,
gift of land, the width of
Oh.
the sign.
I can't imagine them doing that, but that's okay.
You do, the zoning bylaw does allow for off-premises signs on public property.
Oh,
So you have to convince Needham Bank then, to,
well, they might be
So-
willing to do that they're very public service-minded. They're certainly doing a ton in the community now. And they might be willing to, and it's their neighbors that they'd be assisting, so that might get them a lot of,
We're not talking a huge area.
no.
Well, I'll have a conversation with the sign bylaw committee and see what
You
how they
might
feel
just-
about that.
And you might check where the public way ends too, because there might be enough. if
It was
it's-
my understanding there wasn't enough in the public way.
All right.
We did look at that earlier.
So where are we with this then? Are we bringing the sign committee in, or are we
Let me talk to the sign committee and see how they feel about that, and maybe we can talk to Needham Bank and see what their initial reaction is to that.
Okay.
And look at that public way too, and see if you can squeak out some public land there, because I think that sounds like a good solution. If we can get some public land there to put the sign on, then that's the ticket, I think.
I mean, they can be nice signs, so I mean,
Oh,
it
yes.
can be an attractive sign that's there.
well, it's not a question, it's just whether they would want to give up any of their land and all of a sudden makes their lot now, whatever. More non-conforming, perhaps.
Selectmen's reports. Mr. DeSorga,
I have nothing.
Mr. Fisher.
April Fools.
Ready to move
No,
on
too
here.
late, sorry.
Information, any information left? All done? See you next week.
I actually have several things. My little walks here, I should have made note to Ken when he was here. There's a couple of street signs that are missing. Vinyl Road sign at Cottage Street is missing. The Fairview Road sign at Fieldstone Drive is missing. The Valley Road at Birch Street sign is missing. And the Hammett Way sign is misspelled. The Hammett is H-A-M-A-N-T, and the sign says H-A-M-M-A-N-T. There's only one M in Hammett. The sign is misspelled. That needs to be replaced. There's also a water valve hole on Leffel Lane, right at Monk's Way, and there's a piece of metal that's actually sticking up that someone's gonna get a flat tire on. I think probably the plow hit it, bent a piece of metal so that it's sticking up. I talked to Christine briefly about this, but we're awaiting our federal recognition as a tree city. Arbor Day is coming up on Friday, April the 25th. Last year, we planted a tree in front of Larkin's Liquor Store. I would suggest that we continue that, which I think, once we get official recognition, is something we're going to continue to do, correct? They want us. So I'd suggest that maybe we can plant a tree somewhere in the downtown on Friday, April 25th. I believe Ken said he had money in the tree budget.
I
but-
think he has money in the tree budget. I was just trying to see if maybe you could, plan it as part of the Roach Brothers when they're constructing the sidewalk and putting in the new trees. Because even though they're taking down the old street trees,
Yeah.
you get credit for the new ones going in.
Oh, I see.
because
I
the
just
tree
was trying to
branch-
do something around Arbor Day itself on April 25th.
Let me think about that.
Maybe we just brainstorm if there's an area downtown, somewhere in the downtown area that
Mhm.
would be a good spot. The other thing is with the other board members, I attended the Eagle Scout ceremony at the United Church of Christ. Again, it's just impressive, this town, the amount of Eagle Scouts with the awards they receive. It reflects on the whole program and the leadership skills that this town has. I also attended the Volunteer of the Year Awards at the Medfield Foundation, and just congratulations to Pete for an excellent job, well done with that. As usual, it's just
Volunteers.
impressive.
Nice going, Wes.
It's just impressive, the candidates. I want to make note, I attended the Medfield High School hockey game versus Beverly in at Boston Garden, and they came so close to a state championship. And I'd like to congratulate the boys hockey team and also the girls basketball team and their coach, Mark Nickerson. They lost by 2 points in overtime. They would have repeated as state champions, so congratulations to them. I went into Wentworth again, this time with Gil Rogers, Ross Smythe, and Ralph Costello, and viewed the work that the architecture students are doing in there. It's just tremendous what they've done with the state hospital. They've set a series, some have designed it as a visitor center, some as a college, some as a medical facility, and they're going to be finishing on April 14th, and it's going to be open to the town. Medfield TV is going to go in and film that as well, but all town officials and people in the town will be welcome. It is at Wentworth, and there will be a notice that will go out to let people know exactly where that is. And I think you'll be very impressed as you see what the students have done. And they've worked with other students. So, for example, they have a group of students that have gone through the Medfield bylaws to see what can go where. They have other students that are dealing with the topography and where water and sewer pipes can go, and it's just very impressive. And the professor there is so impressed by his working with the town that he would like to continue on to next year and other years, that maybe we can use their expertise to help us. So I think this is a great partnership. It seems to be developing with Wentworth. I went to the Girl Scouts Gold Award, again, just very, very impressive, and went to the installation at the First Parish Church with Reverend Meg Sowens. It was installed as the new minister at First Parish.
I thought that was such a warm service. It was just an inspiring event. It was remarkable. It doesn't happen very often, because she's on the 38th.
She's in the 38th in 350-something years, so.
They keep them.
I received a letter, and let me just raise this, and Christine, I think you received the same one from Matt McCormick, who is on the Downtown Study Committee. He's also on the Aesthetics Committee. And
Sign committee.
he's also on the sign committee. Matt does a lot for the town. Here's what he says, and I think we need to kind of think about what he writes, because I think he makes a lot of sense here. He says, "I'm not sure what the status is of the Downtown Study Committee. I wonder if it needs to be reconfigured at this point. Maybe there needs to be an umbrella group, because we have the Pocket Park Committee, the Economic Development Committee, Sidewalk and Aesthetics Committee, the Cultural Committee, and others that are all dealing with the downtown area." He said, "Or would an overseer group be an overkill? What is the best approach?" And he talked about, we have a copy of the, in 2005, I believe, 2006, the Downtown Study Committee did an excellent vision and action plan for the town. And he's wondering if we need to relook at that, because that is now 2006. And he says with Starbucks, Roach Brothers, the Straw Hat Park, Meeting House Pond Rehab, that's coming down the road, Ord's Block next door, that will face a lot of changes. Our core area of downtown would be dramatically different than they envisioned in 2006. He says there's been recent discussion about the possibility of a design review committee, like many other towns have, to work with the planning board, the ZBA, etc. Perhaps this intersects with the downtown study group, or the downtown study gets reinvented as a design review committee with the various other groups, perhaps as subcommittees. He's just raising the issue, what should we do with these number of committees that are all dealing with the downtown area?
I think that's a very important issue that we do need to figure out which way we're going in the future, and maybe that's one of those other things that we could do after the town meeting, when things get a little quieter and.
Yeah, I personally feel we've got way too many committees, so we've kind of morphed into big government, which is you have a bunch of committees, nothing ever gets done, because you got like 12 committees now that do bits and pieces of downtown Medfield, a little dinky little town here. We used to have just one committee, the Downtown Study Committee, but, now we've got all these different committees, so no one knows what the heck to do, and, nothing gets done, or things can't, get shepherded through, a few key people and key committees, so I think we're all completely overcommitted with committees, at least that's my personal opinion.
Then it might be a good idea to maybe get them together so we have one type committee.
It might make sense to combine committees and have one,
Something, I don't know,
I think we should
something.
take a look at it, certainly.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what the aesthetics committee is doing, so that would probably be helpful to me to explain. I know that they were talking about the sidewalks in the downtown, but I don't know what they're doing beyond that, the other thing on that issue is that someone suggested to me that the librarian, Deborah Kelsey, might be interested in it, and I asked her, and she said she is, so that whatever we create, she'd like to be included in whatever is working on the downtown, so if we keep that in mind as well.
So maybe we can pick this up right after the town meeting.
I think that's a great idea.
And before town meeting, the concern I have, because I know you asked me to cover this, and that's Lot 3. And I believe Lot 3 simply says for the town to turn over to the Board of Selectmen for possible leasing of that property. And I know there's a proposal that's out there, kind of a four kicks type of a concept. Can we have the Economic Development Committee maybe come to the meeting and let us know what they feel on this? I know they've studied that. That's going to come up on town meeting, and I'm not even clear what the different options are on that and how I feel on that.
And I know that Roberta Lynch has indicated that she would like to look at Lot 3 for housing.
When I talked to her the other day, and she's more talking Hinckley property, but maybe she's also talking Lot 3.
Yeah, well, she has mentioned Lot 3 to me.
So there's other proposals, and I think we need to do a little homework on this before this comes up at town meeting, because I'm very unclear on it.
Yep. Anything else?
And, yes. I met with both chiefs, and we're going to meet on Monday at 10 a.m. at the fire station. This came up a couple of meetings ago. Somebody wrote a letter concerned about, do we know what is on the rails that go through Medfield? Is there hazardous material and stuff? Do we have a disaster plan? So I am meeting down at the fire station with Bill and Bob Monday at 10 o'clock, if anybody wants to come down there then. On that, and I'll report back on that. I also met on the chief, which was a follow-up on Upham Road. We said that there was a concern, especially in the wintertime, because you have parking on both sides. And I mentioned there's the apartment building that's next door that actually has a fence that goes right into Thomas Upham House. And I've gone, over the past 3 weeks, the section of that faces Thomas Upham House is never used, and I'm wondering, it looks like about 5 or 6 cars, probably they're nurses and others that work at Thomas Upham House. And those spaces certainly would hold those 5 or 6 lots. And again, I don't know the process of who owns that apartment building and if there's some way we could contact them to see if they would lease or rent or, the other suggestion that the chief had, which I thought was interesting, we have a wood rail that's along the northern side of Upham Road that's been badly damaged. There's sections, it needs to be replaced. He's suggesting if we move that in a few feet and then leave some room so you could park some cars, that too would get the cars off of that section. And that might alleviate some of the problems that are there. I'm going to meet with the Walpole Selectmen next Tuesday. As I mentioned before, I've already met with the Millis and Medway ones, and I'm not sure, Evelyn, if we've heard from Dover, Sherburne, Westwood, or Norfolk yet. Again, my idea is dealing with issues of sharing ideas, sharing services, personnel, and equipment with the other towns to try to save some money and also get a better service. So I will be meeting with the Walpole Selectmen on Tuesday. And I believe that is all, Mr. Chairman.
On the Upham Road parking issue, would it make sense to ask the chief to give us a proposal on how to solve it?
Sure.
Can we direct it back to the chief then? Mark?
Yeah, so it's been a pretty busy, obviously, springtime, you know, things always kind of perk up a bit once the weather gets a little bit better, and we've certainly had meetings all over the place with a bunch of different groups, and like Richard said, we've been able to attend a lot of very nice meetings and really hear some good things about what everyone's done in town, and volunteers, and the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts, so it is pretty busy season that's coming up here. Just a couple reminders for folks, you know, the end of this month, Monday, April 28th is the annual town meeting, so at the high school, 7:30. So important for people, make sure they get that on their calendars so that we have a nice, a good attendance there as we come up through the month of May here. And I attended the Medfield TV had their annual meeting on Wednesday, March 19th. So that's always a good time. It's great, they kind of give us an update as far as what they've accomplished for the year and what they're doing for programming and stuff, and they also recognize a number of their volunteers and folks that have worked hard, including this gentleman over here that spends every Tuesday night with us. And so Wesley, yeah, was of note again at the Medfield TV annual meeting, which is very nice too. So that is it
Getting
for
a lot
me.
of kudos, that guy.
He is. He's a pretty popular guy.
I would just mention that I'm holding office hours at the center on Friday, 9 to 10. If anybody has any issues, feel free to come on down. It's just a drop-in event. And you've already heard about the Gold Awards, the Volunteer of the Year event. One of the most upbeat events in Medfield. Informational items, Chris, are there any of those that you want to highlight for people, or?
The only one I wanted to highlight was the New Life Home Furnishing, which is holding an open house on Saturday. This is a company that was actually renting space in Medfield and grew so quickly, they had to move to warehouse space in Walpole. And they provide used and sometimes new furniture for people who are getting a second start.
Home and Life, yeah.
Where are they located?
They're in Walpole now. I think it says, has their new address
Oh,
on there, but they were in Medfield and they've had to relocate to get bigger warehouse space. It happened incredibly quickly.
It's 102 Elm Street, 4th floor, Walpole. I think it's in by the train station there.
Where were they? I didn't even know they were here.
They're on Adams Street, I think.
Okay. Down at the very end?
Mhm.
Anything else to come before the meeting?
Mr. Chairman, can I just make one thing? I just want to make note of this is a very difficult week for the city of Boston, just to make note of the tragic loss of life of 2 Boston firefighters, and our thoughts and prayers go out to their families. And I also want to make note in that to thank and appreciate our own safety personnel, members of our police and fire departments who serve and protect us here in Medfield. They're there around the clock, if need be, even putting their life on the lines. And the tragic events in Boston, I think, make note of that. And as a town and as a board, I think we just want, again, to let them know how much they're valued and appreciated. So I just wanted to end with that.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And with that, we're done, I think.
Excellent, good.
This program was made possible through the generous support of your Medfield friends and neighbors, folks just like you. And thanks for watching.